Hello, Allie.
Hello, Melissa. I'm looking at you in
the
the flesh.
flesh. Yeah.
And my audio is probably way better than
Yeah, it's the same now.
Yes.
Anyway, what's going on here?
I'm in your house,
Yeah.
and I'm here visiting because we are seeing the Wonder Years, as we do. We saw them last night. I sustained emotional damage. But it was a very good show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I don't think we did our intro.
Oh.
So.
Well, I'm Allie.
I'm Melissa.
And this is Liverpool, USA.
Yeah.
A best friends podcast because we're best friends.
Yeah. It's so, I feel like we're off, like, we're not, this isn't normal.
No.
So we're like way off our usual.
Yeah. We're going to speak off the cuff today.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing about today is like what we do normally.
No.
We're in person instead of over video chat.
Yeah.
We are both holding real microphones. We don't have any semblance of like a bullet pointed script today.
No, we decided on the topic about like 5 minutes ago before we started recording. And it was based upon me looking at this CD collection over here.
Yeah.
Whose is that?
That is, I believe those are Nicole's.
Nicole's. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just looking at Nicole's CD collection and I was like, what have we talked about?
Some of them, I think most of them are Nicole's, some of them are Arjuna's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We both have extensive CD collections and or vinyl collections. And so we thought it might be kind of fun to talk about, physical media. And in the year 2023, when you can find anything online or on Spotify or, through streaming services, why would you own physical copies of it? Some may ask. But we still continue to do that. And I think it's interesting to talk about why, or the psychology.
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of it is purely just nostalgia. I don't really think I have a lot of opinions on like physical, like CDs specifically, or even vinyl for that matter. Like I know a lot of people are like, oh, I think that like CDs are the best audio quality, or vinyl's the best audio quality, or digitally it's the technology is better now. I don't really have opinions about that. I most of it for me is simply, I think, like just nostalgia, and I like the experience of like listening to a CD in full, and I just like that experience. So a lot of it is really just nostalgia for me.
I think that's a big piece for me as well.
Yeah.
Obviously we both grew up before streaming was really like popular. So we grew up with like our parents listening to CDs, and like the like accepted form of listening to music was either the radio, or you bought the album on CD and you listened to it, or on vinyl and listened to it in full, like front to back, no skips. I guess you could skip on a CD, but like the intent was you put the CD in and you listen to it. So I grew up that way. You grew up that way. And I do think nostalgia is a big piece of it. I think I also do hear a difference on vinyl. I don't really know that I do on CD. And I don't necessarily know that it's better. It's just different.
I think for me it's just different. Like the vinyl that I own, Justin and I kind of have a rule so that we don't like overdo it. Like we don't own like too much. But with vinyl for us, it's like some sort of special edition thing. So it's like a cool color or something like that. Or for me, there are specific albums that I'm like, I feel like this would be cool on vinyl. Like I want to experience this, listening to this on vinyl. And it's like not all artists are like that. There's like specific artists and specific albums that I'm like, this as a vinyl is an experience that I want, so then I will buy it on vinyl. So that's like how that is for me. So yeah, there is a difference in sound that makes it like a specific kind of experience.
Yeah, and also I mean like I have a stereo setup in my house with my record player and my CD player, and they're connected to like nice speakers. And those speakers are not, I mean, I do have a way that I could listen to like Spotify through those speakers. Like, it's not that hard, but you know, like I don't usually.
Yeah.
Like, usually if I'm listening to music on Spotify, I'm like listening to it in my headphones or like, you know, whatever. But anyways, so when I want like that surround sound, nice speaker quality vibe, usually I'm listening to vinyl or CDs. And so I feel like that also adds to it, is that I like, I guess, sort of what you were saying, the experience of choosing out my CD and putting it in, and I sit down and I listen in my little like nice area.
It's like a little ritual, you know? Like, you don't get the same thing with like opening up your phone and going to your downloads, your Spotify, and like picking, you know, like having a CD or a vinyl or whatever. There's also, you know, there's little pictures. There's usually like a lyric booklet, you know, and just the physical, like, I think there is kind of like a ritualistic quality to it, you know, for like picking CDs or picking your vinyl and putting it in and having like your record player, your CD player, and just like emulating a sort of experience that you've done so many times and that brings you joy, you know, like a repeated thing. Yeah, so a lot of it's really, you know, it's about that. It brings you joy.
Yeah, and I do think some of it is nostalgia, because I every time I listen to a CD and I lay on my floor, it really, you know, it brings me back to like, you know, my childhood, middle school era, when you know, like that was how I was able to listen to music, was in my little like CD player, and laying on the floor of my bedroom being emotional about like God knows what.
I had like growing up, Nicole and I had our little portable CD players in the car with our little headphones, and we used to sing, you know, to our little CDs on all the road trips. And then even like listening to CDs, like my mom had one of those like fat CD holder, you know, folder things in her car, and so we would always pick from that. And then like when I got a little bit older, you know, like middle school and high school, I had like a stereo that I had, and that's when I started like collecting my own CDs. And so a lot of it, it is like nostalgia, and just like maybe also even a habit, dare I say at this point, to just like
I get it.
buy CDs. I don't really think about it that much, you know, like I know that it's for a reason, but I'm just kind of like, it's enjoyable.
Do you remember the first CD that you like bought yourself, like that you didn't just like acquire?
I think, if I remember correct, that it was Avril Lavigne. Hold on, I'm gonna find out what it's called, because I can picture it in my head, but I can't remember what it's called. Do you remember yours?
I do. It was Metamorphosis by Hilary Duff.
Some queens. We were just like, I know, what if the first CD that we bought like with our own little monies was just like, oh, it was Goodbye Lullaby.
Oh, good. And
classic. I believe, if my memory is correct, that was the first CD that like I bought with my own money. I
remember, and I think I've actually told this story on the podcast before, so I won't tell it again in full, but I didn't buy this with my own money, but I have a very vivid memory of the day American Idiot came out. My mom and I like went to the store that day and bought it and like listened to it in the car. And that's a very like pivotal like CD no skips album moment for me in my life. So one other thing I wanted to just sort of like touch on with having a big physical music collection is not most, I'm not gonna say most, but a big amount of the CDs that I own in my collection are my parents' CDs that I like inherited from them. My parents are both alive, they just don't listen to CDs anymore. But like, you know, I took them from them, and so, you know, a lot of the CDs that I have now, when I look through them, I'm like, oh, my mom bought this, or like, you know, oh, like classic.
They've become like heirlooms.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it feels, honestly.
Like
I have these, you were talking about like the CD book, you know? I have 2 full, like massive ones full of all my dad's CDs.
I have 2 little ones in my car of my own CD, because I have a 6-disc CD player in my car, which is like like amazing for me. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have. It's kind of funny because I don't really think I have, like, I have maybe 1 or 2 CDs from my mom because she still wants hers. We don't have them yet because she's still like will listen to them in her car and stuff sometimes. So yeah, but
you know my mom. She was getting rid of those. I had to
Oh.
rescue them. She was gonna throw them in the garbage. I was like, do not give those to me.
Oh my
Step
gosh, no.
away.
Donate them to me. Oh my gosh.
I remember that, like, I have this memory in college. I was in college, and my dad would have business trips in like the Portland area or whatever sometimes. And so anytime he did, he would, come over to Pacific and like say hi or, like eat dinner with me or whatever. And so I remember he did that once, and I had just set up my CD player and everything, like in my dorm or whatever. And he was like, oh my gosh, like, he was like, I still have all my CDs in my car, like the 2 fat booklets. He was like, I just have those in my car because I have to keep them in my car, otherwise mom will throw them away.
Oh no.
So he was like, do you want them? Like, you can, because right now they just like rot in my car. If you want to give them like a new home. And I was like, yeah. He was like, they'll be safe here.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
So anyways, so now, yeah, I have all my dad's CDs in like fat booklet. Like, he didn't keep any of the cases.
That like makes me a little bit like,
yeah, he kept the booklets but not the cases.
Like the crystal cases. Okay, interesting.
So like,
it's an interesting choice.
Yeah, he got this like, and so he shoved the booklet in and then the CD.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, so I still have like the booklets and stuff. But yeah, he had a lot of good CDs. He had quite the eclectic, like, you flip through and it's like Kiss CDs and John Denver CDs, and then like randomly like a Snoop Dogg CD.
Really
and you're
funny.
just like,
I can't imagine your dad listening to Snoop Dogg. But
yeah, there was one in there that was like, I want to say it's like Paris Hilton, but it just like, it simply must not be.
Yeah.
But it's something like that.
Yeah.
Like a Barbie person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like a singer.
Yeah,
and
I
so
wonder if someone like discovered just like saw your CD collection before they met you. Like, they didn't know anything about you and just saw your CD collection.
I think about that a lot of the time because and also my record collection, which my record collection is completely,
mine's very different from my CD collection.
Yeah.
It's not as big nearly.
Yeah.
For me. Yeah.
I actually have, and I want to do this for my CDs too. I just haven't gotten around to it, but I have a spreadsheet.
Oh my god, I was going to mention that. I want to make a spreadsheet so bad, especially now that Justin and I are both very much CD collectors.
Yes.
Like, yeah, like we're both super into that. He might have, I think he has more than me, but it's hard to, it might be like pretty equivalent. And not all of them fit like out on display. Like, a lot of them he has these like cases that he bought just to put CDs in. And but now it's like, we're like together, like all our stuff is together now, and it doesn't matter, like, yeah, we'll share, like, it's like, hours now, but I want to make a spreadsheet, 1, so I know what I have, and 2, so we can like keep track of like whose is whose,
yeah,
to just like keep everything. But I want to make a spreadsheet.
I have a record spreadsheet with like, obviously just like title and artist and all of that, but also like if it has like a cool thing about it, like if it's yellow or if it's like, because when it's in the case you can't like see it, and so I put that in the spreadsheet, and then it keeps like a running tally, and also genre, and then it keeps a running tally of like how many records I own. And I think the number is about 107.
Oh my god,
right now.
Wait, where are they? I don't remember.
They're just like in my.
Does it look like a lot?
No, it
doesn't look like 100.
I don't think it does. It's like a decent amount, but I mean, they're thin, so when they're all just like, doesn't. I think if you look at it, it doesn't look like 100, but if you like really think about it, it's like, oh, okay.
It makes me think, like, because we have not counted our vinyl and CDs, and it makes me think, like, wow, I wonder if we have more. Because to me, I don't know. I'm really curious now. I wish I knew, like, counted before but we just decided to do this, so didn't have time.
But I want to make a spreadsheet for my CDs as well, so I can think. But I do think that kind of brings us to like, I think now in our lives, a big part of it, of course, is nostalgia. Of course, is like, the routine of it, the kind of, the experience of it. But I also think it's like, people collect stuff.
Yeah. And
Like,
I'm pretty big on like collecting, I'm kind of I wouldn't say I'm not like a hoarder, but
Yeah.
like I'm very sentimental. I'm very into like I am not a minimalist.
mm-hmm.
I gave up on like ever even
Thinking
striving for
about
that a long
that,
time
yeah.
ago. It's just not going to happen.
No.
So yeah, I have like definitely I would consider my CDs a collection. Like I am a
Yeah.
collector of like physical music media for sure.
Me too. I would say more so my record collection than my CD collection. I think it mostly feels that way for me about my record collection because I purchased like every single record in my collection. I didn't like inherit any. My dad gave me one record when he gave me, because my record player that I own is my dad's old record player
cool.
from like
Yeah.
the olden days.
Yeah, that's really cool actually.
Yeah, which I love, and it's also like such good quality because it's like from the 80s.
Yeah, I have I actually don't know how old it is, but I have one from that I inherited from like my great uncle Tony. It needs a dust cover, but it's like an older, like I don't think it's old, but like it's a pretty decent quality machine.
Yeah.
They sell a lot of really like vinyl's super popular right now, so
Yeah,
they've
they
got a lot of
sell
really cheapo record
junky
players out
ones,
there
yeah.
that are like way too expensive because they
Yeah.
can get away with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also because my dad did like have a huge music collection.
Yeah, that's super
and,
cool.
So
can
he,
picture that.
yeah, he wanted to have a good like machine, So yeah. Anyways, but yeah, when he gave me that, he had only kept one record, because. I don't mean to paint my mother in any sort of light right now. She likes to be practical. Anyways, he had been asked to get rid of all of his records. And he was like fine to anyways. So the only one he had kept was Poems, Prayers, and Promises by John Denver.
Wow.
And he gave me that, and that was my first record. And then I expanded my record collection, all 106 other vinyl. I sought out and purchased, and yeah, so it feels more like my collection, like it's, I purposefully have curated exactly what it is,
Yeah.
And so it feels more of like my collection, whereas I think a lot of my CDs have just like kind of come into my life, like,
which is funny because I feel like it's kind of the opposite for me. Yeah, because I have a handful, like a handful of my vinyl is like from my mom, and then like I've bought, and I don't have as much obviously. Like it's funny, we're like a little bit switched on that. I feel like yeah.
I feel like most of the time, if I'm going to buy a piece of physical music, I'm gonna buy a record rather than a CD. Like usually, if I'm like, oh, I want this album, I usually want it on vinyl, not on CD.
Yeah.
There are a few cases where that's not true, but I would say the majority of the time, I'm purchasing it on vinyl if I'm able to. But that is more expensive.
That is, yeah. It is more expensive.
So I have to be. I think it does like make me be a little bit more selective about it. I do really feel like my record collection is curated. It is very much like these are the records that I want to have, and there's like a reason I have them.
Yeah.
Which I like. I like the feeling of having like a collection that is mine. It really I feel like if somebody looked at that record collection, given a lineup of people and they had to figure out like who it was, I feel like it would come back to me.
Yeah.
I feel like people could tell based on my like record collection that it's my record collection, and I like that.
Yeah. And there's also something about like just expanding off of that a little bit, because I'm thinking about like, oh, where have I gotten a lot of my CDs, and like where did they come from? Because you said like a lot of yours are from your dad, and you have the one vinyl and everything. And so I think also as like physical music is important, so are like the places where you get physical music.
Yes.
And like growing up, a lot of my CDs came from, there was this store called Hastings. And it was like all sorts of media entertainment stores. So they had like movies and books and CDs, and they even had like some musical instruments and like random other stuff. And that's where we would go quite often and get CDs all the times, like in high school. So that's where I got a lot of my CDs, like maybe even still most of them, because like high school was really like the time I was really just like raking in the CDs, I think. And then like, you know, with trips to Portland and stuff, and like moving out to the Portland area, it was a lot of it was that everyday music on Sandy, that it's torn down now, it's demolished now. Yeah. I passed it recently, and the lot, it's like officially torn down, which is super sad.
That is very sad.
Yeah, but that specific everyday music, it's like where I got my first Hanging Back Sunday CD. Like, I remember that specifically. It was like my first trip there, as I was like still delving into like the emo type stuff that I'm like, you know,
experimenting.
Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, the places too. We have always a classic Music Millennium down in Portland. I've gotten a decent amount of CDs there too. I think that's kind of becoming our like, because the everyday music on Sandy was definitely like the place. Yeah. And now that that's gone, I think it's kind of become like the Music Millennium. But yeah, the places too. It's like even acquiring the CDs is like an experience, you know. Yeah. And like looking for them and like seeing what's out there, and you know, like even that is super cool.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would say my record collection grew the most the year that I moved to Bellingham, because I lived by myself. I knew nobody in the city. And I lived in a studio apartment. I didn't know anybody, and I was, it was 2020, so there was nothing to do, and I worked from home, went to school from home. I was in the four walls of my studio apartment all day, every day, and since it was a studio, my record player was able to be heard everywhere in the house. Yeah. So I listened to records constantly, and so every time I'd be like, well, what should I do today, or like whatever, you know, or I have some extra money, or like what I would always do is go, we had an everyday music in Bellingham, walking distance from my apartment.
I went there, right?
You did. Yeah, but it had just, when you went there, it had just changed hands, so it
wasn't
closed.
Everyday Music anymore, but it's still
it's still a record store. Yeah. It's called like Ritual Records or something now. But yeah, it was an everyday music most of the time that I lived there. And then the everyday music closed about the same time as the one in Portland did. Oh yeah. And I heard it's because the person who owns it died.
I don't remember because it was a couple, and I don't remember if I think it was the husband. I don't remember if he passed away or if they were just getting older.
Something like that, yeah.
It was something like that, and so there's still one location across from the Crystal Ballroom on Burnside. That location is still open. They did downsize, so they weren't planning on like closing everything. And I remember reading an interview, I believe it was with the wife, who said that they weren't closing because they like, you know, couldn't financially stay or like anything like that.
It was just like too much to manage.
Yeah, like they just had to downsize. Yeah. And also the one on Sandy had like toxic chemicals in it, maybe. Oh, it used to be it used to be Janssen, is that the brand? It used to be like a swimwear factory building, and it had like it just kind of in the walls and the framework and everything. Oh no. Like these chemicals used to make like swimwear from years and years and years ago. And so that's one of the reasons why they tore it down. I guess the owners of the building basically that they were leasing from for the company were they knew that someday it was gonna have to go. Like they wanted to sell it, and it was gonna have to be torn down. They couldn't make it something else because it's like
toxic.
Okay. Yes, yeah. I don't know how, you know, like how bad it was. Like I don't think it was bad enough that it's like bad that there were people in there. I think it's just like, if you're gonna make it something else, you should tear it down instead of just renovating it, type of a thing.
Yeah.
But they didn't know, so they knew it was gonna have to go someday, but when it happened, it was a little bit faster than they were expecting. It was like, okay, at the end of this month you're gone, and it's like, wait a second, we didn't know this was gonna happen this fast. So it was kind of like that kind of situation, but that's why they tore it down. So yeah, that's kind of why the downsizing, from my knowledge, that's like what happened. But
I would say in general, like a lot of sort of the 2000s and 2010s era of like record stores and places to buy CDs and stuff like that, it's definitely changing. I think in part because vinyl is becoming a lot more like trendy.
Yeah, and it has been for a while. Like it was, I mean, I think it was in the late 2010s, I think, that it like reached peak, like way more than CDs, like way more than any other media. Vinyls were like at the top. Yeah. Which is so interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess I, feed into the hype. Like I'm part of it. So yeah, I don't know, it's interesting. It's, to me, it still feels like cheating if I buy a record like at Target or something.
Yeah, because you want to support those independent, and it's about supporting local, and it's also about, as we've been saying this whole time, like the experience.
Exactly.
Walking into like a record store, like that's the designated like thing of this business.
And you talk to a guy who knows about records.
Exactly.
And you're like, did you get the new blank record in? And then he's like, yes, it's over here. And he knows. And, they know all the bands.
Yeah. But walking into like a department store that just happens to have records. Yeah, that does.
When Barnes and Noble started selling records, I was like, oh. No. I can't. Yeah. It doesn't. Or if I order it online, even if I order it from like a record store online, it still feels like, oh, I didn't find this, I didn't scavenge, I didn't sort through the bins to like get this.
You
it feels
like
cheating
for your food.
Exactly. But like certainly you can order records on Amazon. You can, and that I think is kind of like not the vibe.
Like, you might as well just listen to it on Spotify at that point.
That's kind of how I feel. So I really appreciate record stores, and I like the energy of going into, I mean, Everyday Music is big, or I guess it was big.
It was a small chain, or I guess what would you call it when it's like not a whole national thing, but they had like some locations.
I mean, I was surprised that there was one in Bellingham. But it was, and like the physical like stores themselves were like bigger, like they had huge collections to go through. But there's also there's like there was one in Forest Grove that I bought a couple of records from that was really cute. Super, and it was small. And the guy knew literally everything that was in the building.
There's a place downtown Vancouver that they do record store day, which we can talk about if you want to. But we've done record store day there a couple times, and I swear there's like 2 people who work there. And it's so small, and it's so cool. They're so nice. There's one lady who I think is the owner. She's just like so cool, so nice, and the couple times that we've been there for record store day, people will come, and she like recognizes so many people and like knows them by name, and like it becomes like it's one of those like community things. It's just like,
I think so.
It's so fun.
And I mean, I think that's to be expected, right? Because like there are communities around a lot of collectors items. It's like the postage stamp people. They're a community. They've got conventions, and like of course something like music is gonna have a huge community element, and that is like another reason to be a part of it, because it's like when you just listen to it on Spotify, you don't see the faces of the other people listening to the same music as you. You don't talk to the store owner and tell the store owner, have you heard of this new band or whatever, and then they like order the records or you know, whatever. Like that actually this was a cute story. My dad went into the record store in Medford. There's like a new record store in Medford. My dad went in to like, you know, talk to him or whatever, and my dad was like trying to find this specific record for me for Christmas. And so he was like telling the record store guy like, oh, do you have any records from the Mountain Goats, the band the Mountain Goats? And the guy was like, oh, I've never heard of that band.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. And so then my dad was like, oh, you should like, you know, check it out.
Yeah.
And so then the guy did, and the next time my dad went in there, he was like, oh, I ordered a bunch of Mountain Goats records.
Oh my gosh.
Because of like,
that's so sweet. I love that.
And so then I got a Mountain Goats record for Christmas.
Oh, that's so sweet. See, and there's a whole story behind that. That's so cute.
Yeah. Yeah, so I love little record stores.
Yeah.
And like you know, being involved in local businesses and yeah, of course with something like as personal as music becomes to us, you know, I think it is like really nice to like, yeah, you know, you show up at the counter with like a stack of records to buy, and it's like the person knows your vibe.
Yeah,
kinda.
they're like it's like when you go to the grocery store and you only buy like 3 things.
Yeah, and you're like, what do they think?
Yeah, there's just like 3 random items. You know,
it's like
don't
what am I doing
me.
with this like lemon and Band-Aids?
yeah. But then like at a record store, I feel like it's a similar thing, but it's like fun, like in a fun way, you know, because a lot of the time they will like make a little comment about it or you know, it's something like that, but it's like in a fun, nice way. Yeah.
I was with Abe at the Bellingham record store, and he bought he was buying like a Sinatra CD. And the guy was like making fun of it.
Oh no.
Oh no, it wasn't a Sinatra, because Sinatra is somewhat respectable. It was Kenny G.
Oh, saxophone?
Yeah,
saxophone guy. Okay.
And because I was buying, I can't remember what I was buying, but a Cool record. And
yeah.
And then Abe bought Kenny G.
It's really fun.
Yeah, and the guy was like, "Oh, are you guys together?"
Oh my gosh.
So I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, is there anything else you want to say about records? Because I feel like we could also talk about all kinds of
First,
physical.
I wanted to say, just because I thought of this.
Yeah.
Is there any, because we're talking about like, you know, the importance of physical music media to us. And so a lot of it is CDs and vinyl. Mostly CDs for me, mostly vinyl for you.
Yeah.
I also own like a handful of like cassette tapes. And so I was wondering, like, do you have opinions on like why you may like or not like other forms of physical media? Because to me, cassettes, I think that they are the least preferred method of consuming musical content.
Same. Yeah.
I am not a huge fan of cassettes. Maybe I would probably feel differently if I grew up like in the cassette era, you know, because like I grew up in the CD era, which is certainly a big reason why I'm still so into CD collecting.
Yeah.
But personally, I think cassettes, I don't even know if I've ever personally played an 8-track. So I don't even know, I don't have any opinion about something like that, but like cassettes. So we have a massive box of cassettes.
Oh no. And none of them are mine.
Yeah.
They are all Abe's. And do we own a cassette player? No.
Oh no.
And yeah, I don't know. There are so much work.
Yes.
For like and for what?
Exactly. Yeah, I have a handful of cassettes. I even have a couple cassettes that I've bought on purpose because they're from like local artists or something, and it was like a cool special thing, because some artists still do that as like a cool special thing. And the rest of them that I own, I think I have like a shoebox from Rich and stuff like that. So I don't have a ton, but I definitely have like an amount of cassettes. And I even have like the stereo that I had from high school. I still own it, and it has a CD and a cassette player, and like my car has a cassette player, and I even have a mini in, was it high school? I got like a portable cassette player, like a Walkman deal, because I was trying to get into cassettes. you know?
Yeah.
And then I tried more, and it was just kind of like, this is like not really worth it. Like, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I experienced too many that were just like messed up, and I know it wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
Because they're weird to figure out if you've never experienced this media.
Yeah.
You're like, what's happening here?
Yeah. They are like temperamental.
Yeah. The cassettes themselves, and then also like a lot of the cassette players that you experience these
difficult.
days. Yeah, are like weird and messed up.
Also, like, and I mean, this is true about vinyl too. Like, you have to be careful and like do it right, otherwise you can like scratch it or like whatever.
Sure,
but I feel like it's really easy to like ruin a cassette tape,
right? Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
and like
definitely.
CDs are, I mean, and CDs to an extent too, you have to be careful with, but like it's a lot harder to damage a CD than it is to damage a cassette tape.
Yeah.
Like, it does not take a lot.
I actually have my mom, I don't think I've told this on the podcast before, but I think I've told this to you. But my mom has a story about, I think it was the first time she ever saw a CD. And it was in like a, some like a record store or something. And this guy was like, like, check this out. Like, you can't even scratch it, whatever. And he just starts like rubbing it. Like, I think he started like rubbing it on his clothes or something. He was being like maybe a little bit aggressive with it, even for a CD. But the point was that like, you can freaking handle this thing, and it's not going to destroy it. It's not going to like scratch it or whatever. So, that's kind of like a funny story that she remembers, is like, oh my God, there's this little disc that plays music, and like doesn't scratch super easy, and which is just kind of funny. Yeah.
Most of the cassette tapes that we have now in our house are mixtapes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that Abe's dad made.
Oh my gosh, that's cool though.
It is cool.
Yeah.
It is cool.
Yeah.
And like the cases have like handwritten like
that's
like
really
track
cool.
lists and like stuff. And it is really sweet. And like all of them are signed Lone Wolf, which is Abe's dad.
Like his DJ name.
Yeah, or something. I don't know. Also, this man, Abe never even really met him. So
okay.
It's interesting. I think it is. We've talked a lot about like gleaning somebody's personality based off of their like physical like music collection, and so that has been a really interesting thing. Like, we can't listen to any of that. But we can like look at the track lists and see the little like descriptions and stuff, and that is really sweet. And I think it's obviously very special for Abe, especially.
Yeah, did you ever burn CDs? Did you ever make CD mixtapes?
Sometimes. Yeah. My mom, both my parents did a lot.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I like I said, I inherited my parents' CDs, and I don't know that they realized that this was like in the pile. But there's a mixtape that my dad made for my mother. And I feel like you know where I'm going with this, but let's just say I don't think that they probably wanted their daughter to like have access to it.
Do they know now? Like, did you tell them, like, did you know this was in here?
No, because I don't want to embarrass them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like clearly like a mixtape like made by my dad, and like there's like album art.
Oh.
And yeah, the tracks are unhinged.
Unhinged.
I'll just give one example. Your Body is a Wonderland by John Mayer is on it, amongst others. So anyways, hopefully they don't mind that I know that, but
oh my god.
But I do. So yeah, I love a good mixtape. I'm obsessed with mixtapes. I think we should continue the practice.
Actually, now that I think about it, why haven't I done that recently? Why haven't we could have made some for each other?
Oh my god, yeah.
When I graduated high school, I had these, I don't know where I got them, but I had these mini CDs, so they only held like 5 songs.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah,
oh my god,
they were really cute, but I made tiny little mixtapes for all my high school best friends. Actually, I think I had like 2 of my like top high school best friends.
Yeah.
And I made like very thought out, curated like tiny little mixtape CDs for them. I wonder if they still have them. But it was very like oh, I'm going away to college, I'm like leaving my town and my like two best friends, so like here's the songs, you know, like here's these
Oh my
like
god.
very specifically
I love
curated.
that.
Yeah.
I have a mixtape that one of my friends made me in high school. And it literally is a CD with Sharpie written on it that says Fire Jams with a Z.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's like 7 Fall Out Boy songs on it. And I'm like, you get it. Yeah.
I remember it had, I don't remember the specific songs that I put like on my friends' mixtapes, but there was definitely Panic at the Disco, definitely My Chemical Romance, and definitely Blink-182. Like those are the 3 bands that I remember specifically. I don't remember like all the specific songs, I think, but like definitely those.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom has a couple. Like, remember how you could have like they sold CDs that had like pictures on them?
Yes.
And I think I actually don't know how she did it, but my mom has a mixed CD. I think it's from my aunt. And it's not written in Sharpie. It's like some sort of customized picture.
Oh, wow.
Because it has text on it that says Penny's Chick Mix, I think is what it says.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And it has, what does it have? Literally the only song that I remember is it has Don't Let Me Get Me by Pink on it.
Yeah.
Because I remember listening to it like as a child and like really being into that song.
Yeah.
I literally don't remember anything else from it. But like, yeah, that, and there's an iconic mix CD that I probably hardly even plays anymore. I wonder if it's in this room right now.
Oh my god, I know which one you're talking about. Yes,
the pink CD.
The pink CD.
Yeah, because that was from Rich, I think, and he or his kids made it or whatever. And some of the songs don't even play.
Didn't it have like the Barbie song on it?
No, it didn't have the Barbie song. It had the Butterfly song.
Yeah. Oh my god. Didn't it had like something else? Oh, it had
had Free Fallin' by
oh my god, yeah.
Who sings that? Who sings? Is it John Mellencamp?
No.
Tom Petty?
Tom Petty.
It's Tom Petty.
Yeah.
So it had like that. It has
what was the like girly song that it had on it? There's one.
Oh my gosh.
Because you told me and I thought it was the Barbie song, but it's not.
Oh my god. I don't know. It wasn't the Barbie song.
Okay.
Because we had the Aqua, the CD with the Barbie song on it.
Oh.
Like the artists that played it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't a mixtape though. But man, I don't remember right now. But like I'll remember. But like stuff like that that's like so iconic. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
and seemingly random. I don't know where it came from.
Yeah, right.
We call it the pink CD because it's super like you can tell it's got just spilled stuff on it or something.
Oh my god.
But we call it the pink CD because it's pink, but it also has this really weird like monster face thing on it. It's like, where did you get this from? These weird like I unfortunately didn't experience like the CD stickers or anything, but I did experience like writing in Sharpie on the CDs and stuff.
Yeah. I have one that my dad made that just says 80s number 2 in Sharpie on it. And it's like the most like Cotton Eye Joe is like on it.
Cotton Eye Joe from the 80s?
It must be because it's on 80s. I have no idea, right? But like, it's like, are these songs even from the 80s? Who knows?
Yeah.
But like, there's just like the most unhinged like mix. Like, it does not match any of it.
Oh my gosh.
Besides maybe possibly being from the 80s.
That's really funny.
Yeah. So obsessed.
Wow.
Yeah, I love mixtapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit similar. I mean, it is kind of cute. We do make digital playlists that are kind of mixtapes. They're playlists
I
now,
make
so
playlists for people all the time.
I actually went to look at your Spotify to find a specific playlist recently. You have so many playlists.
Oh, I have like a million. I make new playlists all the time. And like they're curated. Like they are, it's not an like it's not just random playlists.
I'm not quite on level as you, but yeah. Imagine if we should totally do that with CDs more often.
Yeah. I'll make you a mixtape.
Oh my god, yeah.
I guess like briefly, does this attitude that we both have a very positive attitude towards collecting physical media and, does this extend to books and movies and TV shows and stuff like that?
For me, I think a lot of it for me has to do with just like where my passions lie, like where my interests are, which is like mostly music. So like I am very into the physical music media, and then probably to a slightly lesser degree books. Much of my passion is in books, writing stuff. So I've been a book collector pretty much as long as I could read.
Yes.
I don't have all those books still. I've gotten rid of a lot more books than I have CDs in my life. I do have a decent amount of books though. And so I do think that there is something about a book, a physical book, that is very specific, that, you know, and like better, I could argue, than like having a book on a Kindle or like on your phone or something like that.
Yeah.
And then like we could expand on that because I know that you want to, but I was also going to mention, because you mentioned also like movies and TV shows. I've never been a huge movie TV show person.
Yeah.
So I don't really own a lot of like movies or TV shows or anything like that
Mhm.
physically. I don't care as much about those. Like, if you do, that's cool. I get it, because I
Mhm.
am into other physical media, so like I don't think it's bad or weird.
Yeah.
But I'm not about. I'm not like that with the same with like movies.
Yeah. I'm the same, mostly because I don't really watch movies very often, or when I'm not like a film guy, you know, like I'm not into movies in the way that I know some people are.
Yeah.
So it's like it wouldn't really make sense for me to like care about having a physical collection, because I think part of it too is like, you know, I like knowing that I will always have this like piece of, you know, something that I can hold, like it's not going anywhere, you know. And I feel like with movies, it's like I wouldn't care if they went somewhere, kind of, you know. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
that's sort of meta, because it's like, you know, that's not really like how that works. But like, you know, I think it's sort of like, oh, like I own this album, you know, like I own it. It's not just like, oh, I pay to access it sometimes, you know. It's like, no, I own this album.
Yeah.
I can listen to it whenever I want, even if I like don't have Spotify anymore,
Yeah.
or I like don't have internet access, or like whatever, you know. Whereas like movies, it's like I understand why some people might have that feeling towards movies and want to like own a copy of a movie, no matter like, you know, whatever streaming service it's on or whatever, like they always have that movie like that they own. And I think just don't care about movies enough to worry about that type of thing, or like want that type of thing. But yeah, books for sure. I'm that way. Like if I even it, because I do read a lot. I read a lot of books that I don't own. Like I read a lot of books that are on like the Kindle app, which is like my Kindle app is through my mom's account, so it's any book that my mom owns.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So, you know, I don't own it, and it's also like on a digital thing. But also I read a lot from the library, so I just give the book back, and I do like a lot of audiobooks and stuff like that.
Which is a beautiful thing, libraries. Yeah.
Love libraries. But if I read a book on the Kindle or through the library that like resonates with me a lot, I'm gonna go buy the book and have the book physically on my shelf.
Okay.
Even if the first time I read it is not that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also I just buy a lot of books and have a lot of books.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I do read a lot, and I care about books a lot. And one thing that I think is interesting that somebody said to me once is that the reason I like having books so much is because it makes me feel like I own things.
Okay.
Because, you know, and we're both at a point in our life where we don't like own big things. Really, like we don't own a house. We don't own, you know, I don't know. We're like both
boats, I don't know.
Yeah, we're like still starting out in our lives, you know.
Yeah.
So books and CDs and things like that are relatively cheap in the grand scheme of things, and it's easy to own a lot of them. And it makes you feel like you have a lot of stuff. Like it makes you feel like you are maybe like more well off than you actually are, or something like that.
Oh,
because
sure,
it makes you feel like you like, look, here's all my things that I own.
Yeah.
You know, like clearly I'm, you know.
Yeah, and I know that I'm very much like a person that and we've talked, it's like similar to, I know we've talked about like why we dress the way we dress and like with fashion and stuff like that, is that a lot of it is about like the comfort of curating your lived experience and like being comfortable and being confident, and you know, having like your home be cozy and safe and feel like the way that you want it to feel.
Well,
and
yeah.
Part of it is also because, and I would have to admit this for myself, and I don't really know if this is like a bad or a good thing or whatever, is that with my CDs and my books, I do like having them in a place where people can see them.
Yeah.
Because it's like, here's another part of me that you can see and judge how you want, and like like it's a part of me, so if you're gonna know anything about me, this is a specific thing that I have or own or am that like I want people to see because it's that important to me.
Well, when people walk into my house, you know, I think it's kind of nice that they immediately see, oh, like, clearly you listen to a lot of music and you read a lot of books, and it's like, yes, that is exactly
like that is a defining part of my personality, and I want you to know that.
And you like see my instruments like out, and it's like, yes, you know, and it's like the reason you display anything in your house, really, that's not like simply functional, is it's like, I have like my college degree like on the wall. It's like, and not that like I want people to walk into my house and like be like, oh, she's college educated, you know, but it's like, you know, it's a part of me, like, you know, I want
it's something that you were or are very dedicated to.
Exactly,
you know?
It's a big part of my like life and you know, everything. It's like, you know, I want my space to reflect who I am, like, you know, that's why I have posters or different art things or whatever that like have some sort of meaning to me. It's like, oh, you see that and it's like clearly like related to me. It's not just like a random thing, you know. It's like it is associated with me, and I, you know, it's there for a reason, and like I think that's part of having a huge book collection. And it's like, partially I do like, especially with my books and obviously with records and stuff like that too, it's like it's functional, like I use them, you know, like I listen to them over and over and over again, and I go back and I reference my library all the time, like I go back and reread things, or I, you know, look stuff up, or, you know, remember things and want to have a physical copy to like look at. And I'm also somebody, I will leave like bookmarks or folded down pages or sticky tabs in books.
Ever since college, I have become like, I have to have a pencil near me when I'm reading, because I will I'm not always great at writing little notes, but I will like bracket paragraphs and sentences and underline things, and like I do like doing that. I do that to my books.
if there's something that I know, and I'm pretty good at telling now, if there's something that I'm reading that I know I'm gonna want to look back at, I will make it easy for myself. Like I will put like a sticky tab, so that if I'm like, oh yeah, that book had that one part, then I can go to that book and it's like, oh, it's where that sticky tab is.
Which I could totally see myself doing. I've thought about that. I just need to acquire little sticky things to have like near me when
I only really like do that type of thing when I'm writing, because I
because you want to be able to reference it and retain it.
And I haven't been writing very much lately, but I find that when I do, I go back to my library all the time, so it's functional, but it also is I think just like we were saying, it's like a nostalgia thing. It's like a, you know, it's like a message to the world that I am the way that I am, you know? And I like having things that are mine, that are really reflective of things that I really care about. Or like, you know, have a lot to say about. It's like, yes, please ask me about this record. Like, I want you to see it in my house and then give me an excuse to talk about it. You know? It's like, that's what I want. And I do own one TV show on DVD, and it's because you cannot stream it anywhere.
Oh, what is it?
Northern Exposure.
I've never heard of that.
It's from the 90s.
Oh.
And it's about a town in Alaska.
Oh.
And it's very funny.
Okay. I know that Justin owns a handful of movies and maybe TV shows. I actually haven't really looked at his collection that much. It's like in a little drawer thing. But I own, or I guess we kind of like bought it together, own one single TV show physically, and it's The Munsters.
Okay,
because we bought it like 2 years ago almost, during October, so we could like watch it, and we were just like, we might as well just own it because it's like very nostalgic for me. I love The Munsters. And so that's like my one. So it has to be like a pretty specific thing for me to like want to own it. If it's like a
literally,
TV show
if you could stream that show, I wouldn't own it on DVD, but you can't.
That's
like,
really funny.
Nowhere. Like you can't even like pay for it on like like Amazon Prime or like YouTube, or like you can't. You have to
see
like
the
buy
importance
the
of physical media. When you have things like streaming services, they can shut down any day. You don't know that.
That's what I'm
Something
saying.
Can happen.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I will always be able to watch that show. I will always be able to listen to my like little albums that I want to listen to.
Yeah.
Read my little books.
Yeah.
and what more joy is there than like going into your little safe space and listening to a little album?
It's the experience, like I was talking about earlier, that like ritualistic thing, you know.
Yeah, I have my little things, like, and especially, you know, in my house I have I call it my study, but it's like just the guest room, but it's mine, you know. And I have my green chair, and I have my record set up, and I have my book set up.
Cute.
And I go in there and I pick out my little book that I'm gonna read, and I pick out my little music I'm gonna listen to while I read it, and I sit in my chair and I like have a good time. Yeah. And that's what life's all about.
Yes, it is.
So
I think that was a beautiful way to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm gonna keep talking to you right now in person.
Yeah.
But
for the sake of the podcast.
I'll say it
good topic.
Straight into the mic that I don't normally have. I love you.
I love you too.
Okay, bye.
Bye.